As a president, I'll never tell a lie.
After Richard Nixon's scandals and Gerald Ford's controversial pardon, voters were drawn to this new face with a post-Watergate message. Carter's campaign fueled in part by rock and roll.
I want to introduce to you the great Allman Brothers.
He would later count Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson among his best friends. And it would all help launch a relative unknown to victory.
ABC now projects Carter is the winner with 272 electoral votes.
Wow, look at that.
He said he was surprised the first time he heard the words, President Carter.
It was kind of a shock to me, but I felt ready for it and prepared for it.
And determined to avoid formality, James Earl Carter Jr. would take the oath of office as Jimmy.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
the
office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
His wife Rosalind at his side. They married when he was 21, fresh from the Naval Academy. She was 18. And during his improbable journey, Carter's advisors would call Rosalind his secret weapon.
I look forward to consulting closely with him on a regular basis.
On Inauguration Day, he and the First Lady would leave the limo behind. They wanted to walk the parade.
And this is more like it was in the old days.
The time had come to sign the peace.
Human rights would drive his foreign policy. He helped forge an historic peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, which still stands today.
I'm so proud of both of you. God bless you, Mr. President.
Ahead of his time, he was the first president to warn of climate change, installing solar panels on the White House. But the setbacks at home, rising inflation, growing gas lines, would wear on the American people.
Good evening.
Issues he tried to address in what was later dubbed his malaise speech, though he never used that word.
It is a crisis that strikes at the very heart and soul and spirit of our national will.
And Carter would soon face another crisis. After Iranian militants seized American hostages at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, the president seemed powerless.
The American hostages were blindfolded, handcuffed, and marched out on the U.S. Embassy's front steps by the revolutionary students.
My thoughts and my prayers for our hostages in Iran are as though they were my own sons and daughters.
An American rescue mission failed, and Carter would lose to Ronald Reagan.
The president, we hear, is preparing his own concession statement. What we may have at the end of all of this is the biggest landslide we've seen in years.
And after 444 days that gripped the country, the Iranians released the American hostages on the same day Jimmy Carter left the White House. ABC cameras were with him in those final hours when the release became reality.
Right on, man. That's great. That's great. I think that was the happiest day that I've ever had. Not in laying down the burdens of the presidency, which I did not want to do, but in just knowing that those hostages were free.
Carter was just 56 when he left the White House, unsure how he would define his future.
We didn't know what we were going to do the rest of our lives, and we decided to take on projects that no one else wanted to do.
But Carter would redefine the modern post-presidency. He worked with Habitat for Humanity. And through the Carter Center, he traveled the world with Rosalind to eradicate disease, monitor elections, and to promote human rights. All work that won the former president the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002.
We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace.
He would famously travel commercial,
I love you, Jimmy Carter.
shaking hands with passengers. But no matter how far he traveled, his home was always his farm in Tiny Plains, Georgia. In August of 2015, he revealed skin cancer, melanoma, had spread to his brain.
I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence. But now I feel, that it's in the hands of God, whom I worship, and I'll be prepared for anything that comes.
But his faith and his strength would carry him through, and crowds would still line up at the tiny Baptist church in Plains, Georgia, for the former president, where he would return to teach Sunday school, just as he had for decades.
Let them know what Christ means to you.
Those lines a poignant tribute to a president who may be most admired for what he did after he left office.
It's been the best part of my life since I left the White House, but I really have been both gratified and honored and pleased and excited to be the president of a great country.
The Carters had recently marked 77 years of marriage, and in recent days after the former president lost the former First Lady Rosalind Carter, he was determined at 99 and in hospice to be there to honor his wife. He went to the church in a new suit that had been made for him, wearing a blanket over his lap with the image of his late wife. The two of them were always a team, a shared purpose, a shared kiss. Jimmy Carter often said marrying Rosalind was the pinnacle of his life, more than any presidency.
Staying with me all this long has been the most wonderful thing in my life.
He's pretty wonderful in my life, too.
A remarkable life and legacy. Our thanks to David for that. The Carter Center announcing and confirming the death of the former president in a statement saying he died today at his home in Plains, Georgia, surrounded by his family. Of course, he is survived by his children, Jack, Chip, Jeff, and Amy. Their 11 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren. His son, Chip, saying in a statement, I want to read you this, quote, "My father was a hero, not only to me, but to everyone who believes in peace, human rights, and unselfish love," saying my brother, sister, and I shared him with the rest of the world through these common beliefs. The world is our family because of the way he brought people together, and we thank you for honoring his memory by continuing to live these shared beliefs. There will